Hey guys, it's Kat and I'm back today with my Pan That Palette update. Now it is month 1, so there's not too much progress to show you. Hopefully there's some. I don't know. Now I'm thinking, should I have split this with my project pan or not? Because I'm worried that it's going to get boring. Like my project pan's going to get boring because there's no palettes or face sort of colored products. And then I'm worried that this is going to get boring because it's really short. But anyway, whatever, I've committed to it for now. So I'm just giving you updates on my 2 eyeshadow palettes that I am trying to hit pan on this year and my 2 face palettes. So 2 eyeshadow palettes, they're both Lorac, what are they called? Pro palettes, Pro 1 and Pro 2. And my goal is to at least hit pan on 1 eyeshadow every month. If I reach that faster, which these are fairly small pans and you can go through them fairly quickly. If I do get through like all the shades that I'm interested in or whatever it happens to be, I might add in another palette to the mix. Why not? And I've also got 2 face palettes. One is predominantly blushes and one is highlighters. So I'll give you updates on that. I do want to say that I have noticed a bit of a snag in my plans for this, mainly the eyeshadows, and that is that I've sort of trying to at least do a 1 week, 1 palette review every month. So I did the Nabla palette, the side-by-side nude palette in January. That took me, I did 7 looks using that palette. So that all of a sudden has taken away from 7 eyeshadow looks using these. So maybe my progress won't be as good as I was hoping, but it is what it is. And my next one, if you're interested, I really want to start using my Kaleidos. This was, what is it called? The Club Nebula palette. So I haven't even opened this, like it's all packed away. It's the collaboration with Angie. I got this sent in PR. Very excited. I can't wait to use it. So I think I might actually start using this tomorrow. So I'll have a review up next week. But again, that means at least for a week and a bit, I won't be using these. So that's my biggest hurdle with this, but I'm going to push on anyway and just make sure every other day I use these if possible. Now, did I reach my goal of 1 pan a month? Yes, I actually did. I actually did, just as in of like 4 days ago. There is no pan in number 1. I am actually finding this one a little bit harder to use than I thought, mainly because it is so, it's either very, very light or very, very dark. And I don't usually go really light or really dark in most of my looks. I usually hover around the sort of mid-tone section. That's my comfort zone. And then I sort of branch out to a little bit of this for highlight, a little bit of that for deepening a liner or an outer corner. So I'm finding this palette a little bit challenging. Now I will zoom in a second and show you any progress that I've made, but I will, look, I'm making better progress on the number 2. Now, I don't know if you can see, again, I will show you close up in a second. I've hit pan on this sort of yellow toned off-white shade. I've been using that to set my base. I'm probably quite close to hitting pan on this gray tone. I have no idea how I've been using that so much. The rosé shade down here, I think is days off pan, to the point where I was going to use this shade today and I thought, no, because my goal is to hit pan on at least 1 shade per month. And if I hit pan on this shade here before I do this update, then I might be screwed for next month. I'm like, this is my easy one for next month. So I'm hoping to at least see a pan here next month as well. Besides that, yeah, I've been using them a bit. You'll see close up that this purple is a bit mucked up. Maybe the navy a little bit, because I have been trying to use them as liners. So like for example, today I've used the liner just pressed in the outer corner to sort of, yeah, create a liner look, because I'm trying to figure out how else to use all these dark shades. One issue that I do have with it, again, it's very, very light or very, very dark, and I find that the shades actually apply a lot darker than they look in the pan. So for example, if I do go with a cool gray, it doesn't actually look that dark, but all of a sudden when you do apply it, I don't know if it like mixes with the oils on my skin or something, or the primer, but it does apply quite dark. So you can only really use a small amount of it unless you want a really, really smoky eye every day, which I'm not really into. These are also predominantly cool toned. One thing that I have been trying to do is sort of mimic the same looks most days, so I can sort of focus on a couple of eyeshadows and hopefully hit pan on like a little cluster. My favorite combination that I've been going for is from the first palette is the gold mixed with the mauve, and you'll see there's a big dent in the mauve. That's another one that hopefully next month I would have hit pan on, but let's zoom in and we'll show you some close-ups. All right, I'm not too sure what you can see. Hopefully you can see that I am using this one quite a lot, and hopefully you can see the dent in that mauve shade. So that mauve shade, so that's got quite a big hole in it that should hit pan anytime soon, but I'm loving that combo. All of these light ones, they are so frosty on me. I'm really struggling, but ever since hitting pan on the other light shade in the other palette, the second palette, I've been trying to use this to set my base, and it is almost white. So these three are very, very frosty on me, but they're sort of easy to set my base with. So we'll see how we go. And I've been using, again, the brown here as like on top of my liner. All right, so hopefully you can see here the itty bitty little bit of pan. Pretty much as soon as I hit pan on it, I stopped using it and started moving to another one. I will continue to use this throughout the next month, but I did want to just sort of spread the usage out a little bit. But yeah, that's my first pan. You can see here, again, there's sort of like a big dent just in the corner. I've also been using sort of these two shades quite a bit, but you can see a little bit of a dent, not too much. And you can see that purple I've dug into a bit with a wet brush to apply it as a liner. I've done that with the blue as well. These sort of dark shades, they are really dark, so deceptively dark. This is a shade that I love the color of, but again, like if you look at it, it's very, very blackened. So it's not like a nice forest green. It is really, really dark. So I'm finding these palettes are a little bit limiting in a sense that you either have, yeah, quite light or quite dark. And it's sort of creating very, very similar looks, but you know, it is what it is. At least I'm using them. But yeah, what I might end up having to do when I've hit pan and used up the shades that I am sort of comfortable using regularly, I might need to find like a warm quad or a mini palette that's got some nice warm shades and some shimmers to add in, because I'm just finding that not only is this quite cool toned and either, like I said, light or really dark, I am finding that the shimmers, and I know this, so this is not a surprise, but I feel like the shimmers are more like satins. They don't apply really metallic or really sort of bold, and that's fine if you're just, you know, popping down to the shops, but I do sort of sometimes like a punchy shade, and I feel like these just aren't very punchy. The good thing about that is it means you can use quite a lot of it, but I have been finding myself, especially with the gold and the pewter shade here, applying them wet just to get sort of more oomph out of them. So yeah, I am making progress. I have hit pan, but it's not very impressive. The next palette is the Smashbox. This is the Crush on Blush palette. Now, this has 4 blushes, a highlighter and a bronzer, and I will zoom in and show you this. I am seeing most progress on actually the highlighter and the bronzer. So I do have a bronzer in my project pan, and obviously I do have a highlighter palette, but sometimes when I pull this out to put blush on, I'm like, it's just so much easier to use this one palette for everything. Even though the highlighter is a little bit frosty on me, sometimes I mix it with the blushes. But yeah, they're not my favorite tones, the bronzer and highlighter, but it's so convenient just having them all in the same palette. So that's where I'm seeing most of the wear. There is a bit of a dent here that's being worn away a little bit. So definitely most of the usage is in these two. And then the one that I use the most, hopefully you can see on the side, there's a little tiny bit like a dent in there. I use this shade. I have tried to use the pink. It's a little bit too bubblegum for me, but we'll see how we go. If I use these 4 shades, I'm cool with that, but I will try my best to use some of the pinks as well. All right, while we're zoomed in, I may as well show you the highlighter palette that I've got. This is the Fall in Love Face Illuminator collection from Laura Mercier. Did I say that already? I don't know. Laura Mercier. Anyway, so it's got 4 shades. I'll have it on the screen where the photo from when I introduced it. You can see that this pan design was on all of them. So it looks like it's sort of, I don't know, folded up, crushed sort of silk. And you can see that that is wearing off on the gold. It's wearing off on this beige color. And it's very slightly wearing off on this pinky color. I have not used this shade at all. I did say in the intro that it's way too dark for me. I might try to mix it with some of the lighter shades. Otherwise, I might try to use it at times as an eyeshadow, but it's sort of good to keep the pattern at the moment so I can reference how these are going. You can see my most used ones are these two. This was the most worn one to begin with, and this one I think I've made most progress on over the last month. I do use this on its own. It's a really beautiful gold, so I really like it. It's beautiful, and I sometimes also mix it with this one. So if you see it mixed, it sort of takes away that cool tone and it sort of makes it a little bit more neutral. So you can see that it almost makes that shade up there, which, you know, suits my skin tone really, really well. So those are the shades. And just for good measure, I thought I'd swatch that pink one so you can see what I mean by it being quite light and quite sort of, it's a little bit too frosty on me. And when I do apply them, you can see that they apply quite sheerly, like they're not really, really heavy highlighters. So I find that you can actually apply quite a lot of them, especially with a brush. They're quite firm in the pan. So I feel like I can layer them quite a lot, which is why I've seen quite a bit of progress in the pan. I've got a baby that woke up from his nap, so he's joining me briefly. But anyway, yeah, I'm not close to hitting pan on these, but I have seen a lot of wearing away of the texture. One good thing about the formula is that I can actually use quite a lot of it and it doesn't look too much. And because it is like a baked formula, it's quite firm. So you can use you can pick up quite a lot in your brush. So I am seeing some good, progress on this, like a lot more than I was expecting to after 1 month. So I do have some hope that I'll be able to use at least a couple of those shades this year. So yeah, there's not too much progress this month with the palettes. At least I'm still sticking to my goal of 1 pan a month, but hopefully next month we would see some of that wear starting to happen a little bit more and there'll be more visual progress, so this video won't be as boring. Fingers crossed. Anyway, that's it for this month. Let me know how you're going, if you're panning any palette, face palette, eyeshadow palette. What are your tips? Help each other out in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.